I've been developing a theory about ethnic jokes, and twice now I've tried to put my theory on Wikipedia, and they won't have it. I'm just some schmuck out out in my hot tub on Star Lake, so they delete my theory. So here's the gist of my theory. There's two primary kinds of ethnic jokes. One is dumb and likes to fight, sometimes just dumb, but I'm going to focus on dumb and likes to fight. And the other is really stingy, cagey. So for example, how was copper wire invented? Two Gujarati, that's a province in northern India, and the Gujarati are, well, the rest of India tells jokes about them just like this. How was copper wire invented? Two Gujarati walking down the sidewalk spot a penny at the same time. Okay. Then there's the dumb and likes to fight joke. So let's say two Malay, guys from Malaysia, two Malay are down digging a trench, and one of them says, "Hey, what is going on here that that Chinese guy is sitting there under the tree in the shade drinking the lemonade that we brought? What's with that?" And the other guy says, "I don't know. Why don't you go ask him?" So he climbs out of the hole and he says, "What's with this? We're working hard in the sun. You're sitting in the shade drinking our lemonade. What is that?" And the Chinese guy says, "Well, you see, you guys have brawn and I have brains." And the Malay says, "I don't get that." And the Chinese guy puts his hand up against a tree. And he says, "Now, hit my hand just as hard as you possibly can." So the Malay swings back and just pounds his fist into the tree. Chinese guy moves his hand at the last minute. So as the Malay is dancing around holding his wounded fist, the Chinese guy says, "You see, I'm smart and you guys are really strong. That's the difference. That's how come." And the Malay says, "Okay, I get it." So he goes down in the hole and his buddy says, "Well, so what is it all about?" And the Malay says, "Well, he's really smart and we're really strong." "I don't get that." And the Malay says, "Well, okay, I'm going to show you." He says, "Now, hit my hand just as hard as you possibly can." Okay, now what I've come to notice about these two kinds of ethnic jokes is that the stingy jokes are told about ethnic groups that are known as middleman minorities. And the example that I read about was Burma and Gujarati in Burma. Now, okay, so the Burmese farmer goes and borrows money from the Gujarati to buy seed and plant his rice field. So then at the harvest, he delivers the rice to the Gujarati. The Gujarati pays off the loan to himself and then gives the Burmese farmer a little bit of money, which the farmer uses to buy some gold for his wife, buy a nice sari for his wife, buy some cloth for the wife to make clothes for the rest of the family, and then the Burmese farmer drinks up the rest of the money. The Gujarati then takes this rice, and he's got Gujarati buddies who also are collecting rice, and so, a little bit of rice ain't gonna do anybody any good. One farmer's rice, it's worthless. But, 1,000 farmers' rice, you bring it all together, you take it down to the harbor, and you put it on a ship, and you got a Gujarati broker there who's gonna take it, to India, take it somewhere and sell all this rice. And it's all done on a handshake. And I've talked to Gujaratis and they agree, we don't do anything in writing. It's all done with a handshake. Okay, now the reason it's all done with a handshake is if the Gujaratis got in an argument with each other and they took it to a Burmese judge, the Burmese judge would just have both of them beaten and take all the money. So there's no point in going to court. There's no point in a written contract. Everything's done with a handshake. For that reason, the Gujarati have to deeply trust each other. And so they do not want their kids mixing with Burmese kids. If a Gujarati kid marries a Burmese kid, they're outside the circle of reliable people that you can do business with on a handshake. So you want your Gujarati kid to marry a Gujarati kid and stay inside this business network. So, okay. I have asked people from Ethiopia and East Africa, oh yeah, the dumb and like to fight, that's the Oromo. And the stingy, that's the Guja. It's an ethnic tribe in, and Wikipedia notes that they are canny traders, the Guja. Okay, let's see, Armenians, a lot of times wherever you find them in the world, these stingy, like the stingy jokes are told on them. And oh, of course, the overseas, the overseas Chinese. So I was asking a friend of mine who is Malay, and he says, oh yeah, the Chinese tell on the Malay the dumb and like to fight jokes, and the Malay tell on the Chinese the stingy jokes. And then the Jews of the diaspora definitely fall in this category. And, so in Amsterdam, they probably hand over $30,000 worth of diamonds on a handshake because they can trust each other, and you don't ever want to fall outside that circle of trust or you're screwed, because the rest of the Europeans, they don't want to do business with you. If you're a Jew, you got to stay inside the circle of trust. Okay, so the stingy jokes are told on these groups that are known as middleman minorities, and you can find them all around the world, and it's not just one group like the Jews or the Gujarati. There's probably 7 or 8 different groups of people like this. I have no idea what their history is as to how they got into this kind of business and how they got this kind of reputation among the people that they live with. Then the dumb and like to fight jokes, as I look at it, those people come from territories that have been overrun by conquerors several times in history. Now, Indians like to tell the dumb jokes on the Sikhs, S-I-K-H, Punjabis, and that area has been overrun by conquerors many times in history. Hillbillies, the Scots-Irish. So the dumb and like to fight jokes, and God, do the Scots-Irish like to fight, are told on the Scots-Irish and their descendants, hillbillies, rednecks, crackers, Okies. You got the idea? Okay. And then the Malay, that area has been overrun by conquerors, Chinese, Dutch, Portuguese, English, Spanish. So I think the Malay count. Now, there are people where the joke is that they're dumb and they don't make a big deal out of that they don't like to fight, or that they like to fight. So for example, the East Germans and the Prussians like to tell dumb jokes on the Bavarians, but especially on the Germans who live up against the border with Denmark and Holland. Okay, now there's one other kind of ethnic joke that I only know that it's told on one group, and that's the Vermonters. So if you know of any other group, I'd like to hear about it. So of course, the Texans, the ethnic joke on the Texans is that they're just these stupid braggarts. So this Texan is driving through Vermont, and he finds a Vermonter working on his tractor out on the road. And the Texan stops his big old Cadillac and he says, so you own this land here? Oh yeah. And how big is it? And the Vermonter says, well, that tree down there behind you, and then that rock wall that runs clear up to the top of the ridge there, you see that, and the tree, that's the corner, and then the rock wall runs across the top of the ridge to that other tree, and then it comes all the way back down to the road. And the Texan says, why, hell, I get in my pickup in the morning, I can't even make it to the other end of my property. And the Vermonter says, yep, had me a pickup like that once. Now, there's another kind of ethnic joke that people would tell on themselves. And so far, I've only found two groups that tell it on themselves. One was a Punjabi Sikh who told me this. And then I've read that Moldovans tell this joke on themselves. And that is that Ivan, a Moldovan, he dies, and Lucifer's taking him to Moldovan hell. They pass Russian hell, and there's all these Russians in a giant cauldron of boiling oil, and there's demons around pushing the Russians back in. And they pass American hell, same thing. The Americans are screaming, trying to get out of the boiling oil, and the demons are pushing them back in with pitchforks. Same with all the nationalities till they get to Moldovan hell. And in Moldovan hell, the people are screaming, but there's no demons with pitchforks. And the Moldovan asks Lucifer about it, and Lucifer says, oh, they pull themselves back in. They pull each other back in. So apparently there's some sense, probably among ambitious climbers, people who are intent on self-improvement, there's a sense that their community is jealous of their efforts to improve themselves and pulls them back down. So there you have my theories of ethnic jokes.